Welcome back to Joester Reviews, the show where we review things. Today's episode is on Shang Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, the latest blockbuster to come out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Unless Eternals comes out before I release this video, which is a very real possibility given my wildly inconsistent upload schedule. I just started my junior year of high school, so chances are it's going to become even more inconsistent. In fact, I'm actually writing this very video in the middle of my study block. I have plenty of homework that I should probably be doing instead, but screw it, I'm gonna do this. And on the off chance that my parents are watching, that was a joke. And before we get into the actual review, I must do what I do in every one of these videos and tell the story of how I watched it, because it's usually mildly entertaining at most. I usually watch Marvel movies like this with my dad, but this time, he was a little squeamish about going back to theaters because there's, a global pandemic still going on, and since this wasn't on Disney Plus like Black Widow was, there was a high chance that I wasn't going to see this movie for a while. And at first I was okay with this, but when all of the praise for this film started flooding in, I became more excited to see this film by the day, and eventually I confronted my dad at dinner about this, and told him that if he wasn't going to watch it with me, then I was just going to watch it by myself. And he and my mom were going to go to a parents' weekend at my brother's college the next week, so it would have been the perfect opportunity for me to just bike up to the local theater and watch it myself. Well, me saying that must have scared my dad into submission, because literally the next day, he bought us tickets to see the film at 2:30 p.m. And the theater was very safe. We were easily at least 12 feet away from everyone else. Oh, and just a quick spoiler warning for this movie to anyone who hasn't seen it yet. With all that out of the way, let's review this bad boy. First, let's talk about the good. So the first positive thing about this film that comes to mind is the action. I know that in pretty much every review I've done in the past year, I've mentioned that the action in whatever film I was reviewing at the moment was unique, but it truly is in this one. They perfectly combine traditional martial arts choreography with Marvel's trademark CGI over-the-topness. There's a scene that appeared in a lot of the trailers where Shang Chi fights a guy with a machete for an arm on a bus that perfectly sums this up. Next up are the performances. Before I saw the film, from the trailers, I sort of assumed that Simu Liu was just chosen for his stunt work and wasn't going to be that good of an actor. But boy, was I wrong. He does a great job as Shang-Chi. And Tony Leung, or however you pronounce his name, is also an absolute legend who does brilliantly as the Mandarin in this, just like chef's kiss. And also, I didn't hate Awkwafina's character as much as I thought I would. I'm beginning to get sick of her because she was annoying in Rhea, and that Comedy Central show with the god-awful title she stars in is just kind of bad. But I actually kind of enjoyed her in this. I like the part where she bets on Shang-Chi to lose the cage fight. And Ben Kingsley's return as the fake Mandarin was a very welcome surprise. Aside from that, the rest of the cast was fine, but not really that noteworthy. In pretty much all technical aspects, every single recent MCU film has been great. The visuals are good, the score is good, it's funny, and the story is coherent. Most of the time, the worst these movies can be is either boring or generic. Except for The Incredible Hulk, but we don't talk about that one. But also kudos to Shang-Chi for being the first film in a very long time to acknowledging The Incredible Hulk as a canon thing that actually happened. A lot of complaints that are being leveled at the more recent MCU movies is that even as good as they can be, they tend to have a very cookie-cutter formula and have a very similar style to each other. That does not apply here at all. Shang-Chi just oozes style from every orifice it has and feels very unique within this universe. There's still the basic beats that all of these movies follow, but this film just feels a lot different. I don't even know what it is about it that just makes me feel this way, but it just does. Unfortunately, nothing in this world is perfect, So let's talk about the bad. Although, please keep in mind that nothing I'm about to say I consider a deal breaker for watching this movie. In fact, because it's like a lot of the things I'm about to complain about are gonna seem very nitpicky. For example, I think they should have just like not included Wong in this movie. Like he didn't need to be in the cage fight scene. Like yeah, it is kind of cool and it's good to put in the trailer for like suspense and like, oh my god, why is Wong fighting Abomination in Shang Chi? But like realistically it doesn't like there isn't really a concrete explanation for it in the movie. It just sort of happens. And like the ending scene where like Wong shows up at the bar and like approaches Shang and Katie and is like, "You need to come with me." Would have been like a lot. Would have been a lot cooler if we didn't know that if we didn't already know that Wong was gonna be in the film. Also, I thought the post-credit scenes were very meh. They weren't bad, but just kind of pointless. Let me ask you, what makes a post-credit scene good? In my opinion, it would be to introduce a new character or an update on a pre-existing plotline. Some good examples include the original Avengers with the Thanos scene, or the Ant-Man and the Wasp post-credit scene, which is arguably the most exciting part of that whole movie. But in this one, the only mildly interesting concept introduced here is that the rings are sending out some sort of signal. But other than that, all we learn is that the rings are very old and powerful. Wow, what a shocker. And the last one was worse because all we learn is that Xialing has taken over the 10 rings, which was explicitly said to be happening earlier on in the movie. Like, nothing shown in that scene was a surprise at all. But I gotta say, other than those two things, the movie was pretty damn good. There's probably plenty to nitpick about the plot, but I don't really care about that. So I guess the final verdict is that Shang Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is a very unique film filled to the brim with great action sequences and fun performances. But a lackluster post-credit scene in Wong really shouldn't have been in this. I would definitely recommend this film. Anyway, that's me out, and thank you for coming to my TED Talk.